What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
All right. I think we are all set. What is going on, everybody? Welcome in to episode number 588 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Live from Underground Studios. It's KB. It's Matt coming at you with a very fun show. It's our Thanksgiving Eve tradition as we record these on Wednesdays, so you'll have this going into your holiday weekend. We got a lot to dive into from the Eagles, the Sixers, the Phillies, and a whole lot more. But before we get into all of that, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/Underground Sports PHI, Twitch.tv/Underground Sports PHI if you want to watch the show live every single Wednesday night before it goes out anywhere else. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. You can follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Goes a long way for helping the show continue to grow, helps us do more fun and dope things as we head towards the new year and obviously the holiday season as well. But go subscribe. You're going to be with your friends and family this weekend. Just tell them to pull out their phones, click that subscribe button. Let's get the subscribers growing on audio and, of course, on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. That's where you get full video episodes of this show twice a week. Every show on our network in full video form, live streams, original video content, clips, shorts. It's all on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia, which we are currently at 637 subscribers. Would be awesome if we can hit 650 by the end of Thanksgiving Day. So tell your friends and family to subscribe when you're hanging out with them this weekend. And be sure to get your merch, phiapparel.co. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, right around the corner. You'll be seeing all of the deals on our social media pages. But anytime, any place, you can go to phiapparel.co. Stand out in the crowd with Underground Sports Philadelphia podcast merch, Phillies, Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, Union merch. And when you go to checkout, use code UNDERGROUND for 10% off. You can use that year-round, but I'm sure once Black Friday and Cyber Monday roll around, we'll have a big-time code for an even bigger discount for you guys. But go get your merch, phiapparel.co, code UNDERGROUND for 10% off. And, of course, this podcast is presented by the City of Vineland, and the City of Vineland Municipal Calendar features city-organized, city-sponsored, and city-affiliated events that are of public interest. The calendar, which is accessible at vinelandcity.org, is a good way for residents and visitors to build awareness, remain engaged with city government, and participate in local events. You can also follow the City of Vineland on social media via their Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube pages. Through these tools, you can stay connected to the community and get important announcements about programs and services offered by the city. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always a growing season. A big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. Matt, what's going on, brother?
Living the dream.
We were both proven wrong in our preseason predictions with the Eagles as they somehow found a way, kept the main thing, as Jalen Hurts says, and took down the Kansas City Chiefs on Monday Night Football for all of the world to see. And yet somehow, some way, your take, no pun intended there, about style points and players carrying quarterbacks and everything still made its way into the zeitgeist as it was the Chiefs would have won if this, and this didn't happen. Well, it didn't, and the Eagles made the big plays when they had to make the big plays and are now 9-1 with the best record in the NFL and have had the best record in the NFL, or a share of it, since week 1 of last season.
Yeah, I think the biggest takeaway from that game is that the Eagles have, I think, the only unstoppable thing in the NFL right now, which is the brotherly shove. And I think, we've talked about its impact, but I think you really saw it in a high-leverage game there where you get that Jalen Hurts push, and it's like there's really nothing defenses can do to stop that. And it's such a again, just when you get in these big games, in these big moments, when you have something you can go to that reliably, that has such a high success rate, I think that's just a massive advantage over so many other teams. And just having even that easy button, and I think it allows so much. We've talked about they face a lot of 1st and 8s rather than 1st and 10s like most other teams get to do, because their mind is made up once they get to the lower downs that they can go for it, and it's not a problem because they're very comfortable in taking that risk. I thought too was a good game in terms of like adjustments as it went on. I feel like the Eagles made adjustments in that game and improved and won. And yeah, I think you saw a lot of the good and bad of both teams in this game too. Like so much of the criticism of the Chiefs this year has been offensively the weapons not being the best, and you definitely saw that. This very easily could have been an Eagles loss if MVS can hold on to that bomb. But you saw the Chiefs defense really give the Eagles lots of problems. Never felt smooth from them, right? But again, just found a way to get any points that they could. And, I think the Eagles, was a little stop-start at times offensively because of that defense. But also, we've seen them at times just a few miscommunications and things like that. And that's going to happen in a big game. But, I mean, the biggest takeaway, like you said, is that they have that great record. It gives you a lot of confidence going into this week's matchup against the Bills as well. Like, listen, like this is like a team that for whatever reason can just find a ways to win, and that's a big thing.
And I mean, you look at some of the people that stepped up that had miscues in this game and then made up for it. Kevin Byard specifically, gives up that first touchdown on a miscommunication on defensive coverage, but then picks off Patrick Mahomes in the red zone, in the back of the end zone, and makes up for it there. You had big plays on defense throughout this entire game. Jalen Carter was looking up high school highlights and saw a kid make an interception on a spike, and he almost did that in this game, which was crazy. If he would have pulled that off, that would have been one of the most insane NFL highlights, I think, of recent memory, of somebody pulling an interception off from the defensive line, no less, on a spike. And then, I mean, Jalen Hurts made us look like geniuses as the X Factor, as we called him. Devontae Smith stepped up in a big way in this game. Kind of had that game-sealing catch that set things up at the 1-yard line with that 41-yard bomb of a pass from Jalen Hurts that was allegedly an audible from Jalen Hurts. So all these stand culture Twitter analysts want to say that Jalen Hurts doesn't know how to read a defense. Kind of knew how to read a defense there and picked up on something. And Devontae made huge plays in this game that made it possible for the Eagles to win. And I think that was a big product of that. And DeAndre Swift, whenever he had the ball in his hands, whether it was running the ball or in the screen game or the short passing game, DeAndre Swift was a huge, swing in momentum and a huge, shot in the arm for this team to really move the ball down the field because his speed was on full display against that Chiefs defense.
Yeah. I think for me, just it's a huge test too, because these have looked like the two best teams in their respective conferences. Maybe you could say the Ravens and the AFC, and we've seen some standout performances from the 49ers, but I think on the course of the whole season, the Chiefs have the only two previous games the Chiefs have lost, I think you would say that there was valid reasons for doing so. Mm-hmm. It was a Patrick Mahomes flu game and the first game of the season when they didn't have Travis Kelce. And that happened 2 days?
Chris Jones.
Yeah, right. And no Chris Jones. And that was 2 days before that opening game that he picked up an injury in practice. So it wasn't even they knew for a long time. They clearly planned to play with Kelce, and then he wasn't available. Mm-hmm. So, that's the same for every team. Hurts had something very uncharacteristic turnovers against the Jets, or this Eagles team is 10-0 right now. That's also the reality. But I just think at no point has it really felt like the Chiefs lost because they were really outplayed. It never felt, there's caveats to both of their previous losses. I think this one you can feel you go on the road and get a massive win against, what is the best team in the opposite conference. Super Bowl rematch, but potential Super Bowl preview. And we talk so much about how the NFL this year has been college football, and that there's every week you kind of come away with statement wins. And, if we were doing an AP rank, this is definitively putting the Eagles at number one spot, right? Because it just is, it really It's like the old school like Alabama LSU games, like where it's like whoever won that, it was like that's who's going to the national championship. So, like, it doesn't quite feel that same way. It didn't have that same pop to it. But yeah, I thought it was again, it's a great performance by the Eagles.
Most viewed game in the NFL this year by TV ratings, blew every game out of the water. And Matt, can you name the common denominator of the top 3 most viewed NFL games this season?
I'm going to say it's the Eagles.
It is the Philadelphia Eagles.
Because it was the Eagles-Cowboys.
Eagles-Cowboys, right? And then I want to say it was Eagles-Dolphins Sunday Night Football.
That makes sense, because that was like kind of peak Dolphins mania. Everyone was really excited about them. And that felt like one of the first real big games in the NFL season, too. Like, you also had the Bills-Dolphins, like a week or two before that. That was a big, but that was like late afternoon slate. Anytime you get the prime time matchup, but
I think it was like 29.2 million people watched Eagles Chiefs, which hey, you get a Super Bowl rematch like that and a matchup. I think that everybody coming into this season, we even talked about it. If there was ever a year to have a repeat Super Bowl, it was probably this year, and we kind of got our first taste at that. And I don't know how you feel about this, but I've seen it circulating. I feel like people are taking their frustrations, that these are people that aren't Eagles fans, their frustrations and their anger with the Eagles and just how good they are and how they beat teams and find a way. They're trying to drag down Nick Sirianni in particular, and using like his animated personality and just his excitement for his players, his team, the fans, to just be like, this guy needs to go. This guy's, the worst, blah, blah. But when somebody like Dan Campbell does it, it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. And that's no knock to Dan Campbell, because I'm a huge Dan Campbell fan. I think what he's doing for the Lions is unbelievable. But the double standard there is quite hilarious.
Oh, it's because he's jacked.
That too.
That's what it is.
Biting kneecaps.
Because he's like the quintessential football guy, and Sirianni's not. So there's a different reaction. Sirianni feels like someone who should be watching on a couch, whereas Dan Campbell, you can imagine playing football and obviously becoming a football coach. Like, he's fits that mold. I think people will criticize coaches. Like, next year they'll be criticizing Dan Campbell for whatever reason. Like, that's just the way this goes. Bill Belichick's one of the best coaches of my lifetime across all sports. And people were critical of him about his behavior all the time too, and about the way that he talked and his like real monotone, drab, and whatever. Like, there's always going to be something that someone says about something. I don't think it's really that big of a deal. And I mean, it's hard not to get excited too, I think, as the coach of this team, because they just keep passing tests. And this was a part of the schedule that we highlighted all the way back in whenever the schedules get released.
May.
Yeah, May. As a big run, and we knew it coming in this season. This was going to be like a huge test after test, and it's just like technically the second like marker on that, because the Cowboys game before the bye was really the first test. But you're going to be playing all potential like Super Bowl contenders, if not at the very least playoff teams, and you get the Bills this week, which they're fighting for their lives, and like that's obviously a very good offense. Like, it's going to be another game, I think, that's going to come down to margin plays. And again, what the Eagles have shown time and time again is that it's not as efficient as last year, but they have ways of just exploiting weaknesses that I don't know that a lot of teams do that at that level. Like, I think there are very few teams in the NFL right now that have, again, make it as easy as the Eagles are able to make it easy on themselves. And that's just a huge benefit.
Yeah. And I mean, when is an Eagles success run not getting a cherry on top of potential Howie season this late in the year, as Shaquille Leonard, formerly known as Darius Leonard, was released by the Colts this week, has cleared waivers, so he is free to sign with any team. Allegedly going to take a few days to make a decision, but the tweet from Adam Schefter name dropped 2 teams, that being the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, as 2 teams with high levels of interest. I just got to say, a clip of Darius Leonard on the Pat McAfee show back in 2021 after Nick Sirianni's introductory press conference was making the rounds on Twitter earlier this week. Darius Leonard, Shaquille Leonard, loves playing for Nick Sirianni when he was with the Colts. He loved being around him. And a tweet from Shaquille Leonard resurfaced today saying, LOL, Cowboys suck.
Yeah, classic. I think we can all get behind that statement. Colts fans have said that he's washed. It's hard. It's always hard to tell too. Like I will always believe the fans of the teams from where players come from on like their opinion on players generally because they watch so much more of it. You do always have to wonder though on a team that's like they're kind of middling this year. I wouldn't even say they're like a terrible team. Like they're pretty competitive. Maybe the motivation was there. Who knows? But it's not like this is a team that has like 1 or 2 wins at this stage of the season. Like they're a relatively good team. But yeah, Colts fans have been pretty negative about him and saying that they're not going to miss him very much. Maybe he's someone you get in the door and things change and he looks a lot better. But your linebacker is an area where the Eagles don't have a ton of depth to begin with. So even if it's someone that isn't playing at a super high level, I think getting someone in the door is not the worst thing.
Yeah, I mean, he was injured last year, only played in 3 games, started 1, and then this year has played in 9 games for the Colts. 65 combined tackles, 34 solo, 31 assisted, 2 tackles for loss. I mean, he's 28 years old, and I know, from 2018 to 2021, he was a high level, always being in the mix for Defensive Player of the Year with the Associated Press, multiple award nominations and wins in his career. To say that, last year when he was injured, played in 3 games, and then feels like this year he's like just been trying to work his way back into form with a new coaching staff and everything. Obviously, Shane Steichen is there and brought in new coaches. I don't want to hold everything against Shaquille Leonard for potentially having a down season compared to what he's had in the past. And I mean, you look at his combined tackles in 2021 when he was the Associated Press. I want to see what award this was. He was named to NFL All-Pro team, first team in 2021. He had 122 combined tackles. He's got 65 this year, halfway through the season. I mean, kind of on pace for where he was when he was nominated for the All-Pro team. Not to say that he would be voted that this year, but still seems like he's producing in a way that could certainly help out a team that's looking to make a deep playoff run. And I think one thing that Eagles fans always are clamoring for from Howie Roseman is linebacker depth, and what better way to get a guy that is free to sign anywhere. You pay him the vet minimum because the Colts are paying the rest of his contract, the $6.1 million that he's owed. And then you have a guy who's 28 years old that you can kind of get in the building for half of a season, see if you like what you see from him in Sean Desai's defense. And if you want him back, you re-sign him. If not, it's a low-risk, high-reward type of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of the Eagles' method too of not really worrying too much about the middle part of the defense and sort of addressing that as it goes. And this would be a pickup that, like you said, it seems a pretty low risk and could have some potential payoff. But we'll see. He's got the red or blue pill in front of him.
And I mean, last year. He missed the first 3 weeks recovering from off-season back surgery. Came back in week 4, and then he got a concussion and a broken nose in a game, which made him miss 3 more games, and then a setback with his back injury, which effectively ended his season last year. And then in early November, he expressed his frustrations over the Colts coaches choosing to give him limited defensive snaps compared to previous seasons, despite him feeling recovered from back surgery. And then he was waived on Tuesday. So, I mean, I think it's somebody you take a shot on, especially if the other team in the mix is your direct rival in your division. I'd rather take the risk. It may not work out, but you took the risk and avoided, potential of your rival finding something in him who, say what you want about the Cowboys. They know how to run a defense, especially this year. And I'd much rather prevent them from adding anything to that defense and adding it to ours over anything else.
Yeah, Van Der Esch is done for the season, right? So
potentially career.
Yeah, with another neck injury.
So, I mean, Shaquille Leonard, I would 100% take a flyer on him, And if Adam Schefter's name dropping the Eagles there, hopefully that's a good sign to come, and maybe we'll see after this Bills game on Sunday where he ends up. Take some time during the holiday weekend to figure out where he's going to sign. But like you mentioned, Matt, the Bills are on deck. It's another Kelly Green game, and it may be the tailgate to end all tailgates, and I'm sure Kenwood beer is going to be flowing through the lots on Sunday. You guys can go to kenwoodbeer.com, check out who's got Kenny's on tap in the Pennsylvania, being Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, New Jersey, or Maryland areas. You can also get it at your local liquor stores. It's 4.1% ABV, just 120 calories, 8 grams of carbs. Go to kenwoodbeer.com. Got to be 21 or older to do so. And, of course, please drink responsibly. Maybe the tailgate of all tailgates may go down as one of the best ever, as we see Kelly Green jerseys slamming through tables as Eagles Nation and Bills Mafia come together for what will be a wild time down at the lots.
Yeah, it's like you give thanks. Next day you go out and trample your neighbor for a TV, and then on Sunday you go and just enjoy and be the most debaucherous self that you can possibly be. I wonder if those like folding poker tables are someone's like a smart business, I think, would put them up for sale or something.
Yes.
I think it's gonna be a really fun game. I'm actually really looking forward to it, which means it's gonna be a letdown. But yeah, I think for me, I'm actually more like the Chiefs one is I think is more indicative of like the season and kind of a good marker of progress. I'm actually more excited for this one because I think this one's gonna have more scoring, and I think it's probably gonna have. The Chiefs felt so like there was so much wrapped up into it. Like there's obviously like the Super Bowl aspect, and you're always gonna feel the team that loses that is going to feel like they have unfinished business. Like there's a little bit just of anxiety in that game, and wanting to get that win. And, I think for the Bills game, it's going to be a little more relaxed. And I think, again, obviously going to be super competitive, but I think this has potential to be a pretty high scoring game just because the Bills offense is still fantastic. Josh Allen's still playing at a super high level. We also know that he, takes like high risk throws too, that can lead to turnovers, but you expect the Bills most weeks to put up a good amount of points, and this Eagles defense has been good, but not great, and especially passing on this Eagles defense has been a problem area for them. So that's going to be fascinating, and the Bills defense has, kind of been limping through the season because of how many injuries they've had. So expect the Eagles can exploit that. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this one. I think this was a game that a lot of people had just circled on their calendars since the schedule came out and knew that the Bills would be coming to Philadelphia. I have an interesting question for you because obviously this offseason we saw the running backs damn near unionize over, contract negotiations and things like that. I'm gonna ask you this question, and then I'm also going to see who you think is in the top 5 in terms of rushing yards in the NFL this season, if you don't already know. Would you give DeAndre Swift a contract extension, one, before the season ends or almost immediately after the season ends?
It would depend on the number that he's looking for. I think the Eagles get DeAndre Swift because of the fact that he wasn't highly valued in Detroit or wasn't being utilized necessarily the way it was. He also has had injury problems throughout his career. Now, like maybe that was part of the way he was being used. Who knows? Maybe it's just the Eagles have figured out a way to keep guys healthy for the most part when you compare them to a lot of other NFL teams. I would be interested in re-signing him. I think it shows like the Eagles' approach is very much that they can find someone to fill in. And I would be shocked if they don't already have ideas about where they could pivot to next. But I would take DeAndre Swift back.
And, I mean, he's 24 years old,
yeah,
which I think also plays a huge factor in it. It's not like Jay Ajayi when you traded for him in 2017 when I think he was like 26 or 27, but also had like degenerative knees. I also think DeAndre Swift's injury history was the Lions' offensive line when he was there was not the best. So he was running behind, not the best offensive line in football like he is right now. DeAndre Swift is in the top 5 in terms of rushing yards this season. He is number 3 currently with 690 rush yards and only 1 yard behind being number 2. Do you know who else is in the top 5?
I would have to say that McCaffrey would be in
Christian McCaffrey is number 1. He's got 825 rushing yards.
Who else has been Mostert?
Raheem Mostert is number 2 with 691.
Ooh.
Then it's DeAndre Swift with 690.
This is just running backs?
Yeah.
Okay. Who else has been like a top running back this year?
4 and 5 are pretty surprising.
Brian Robinson?
No.
He's had a good year. I was thinking maybe he snuck in.
Brian Robinson has 558 rushing yards this year.
Respect.
I'll give you this. The number 4 and 5, they're both in the AFC.
Both in the AFC. James Cook?
James Cook is number 4 with 688.
Breece Hall?
Breece Hall is not number 5. He is at 544 rushing yards.
Pacheco?
No, surprisingly. But he is in the 600 club. He's at 614.
I don't know.
It is one Travis Etienne.
Oh, duh, of course. Yeah, that is very
with
obvious,
670.
Yeah.
Followed by Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, who I think a lot of people would put in their top 5 in those guesses. But I think DeAndre Swift having like the revitalization that he's had this year has been so evident. And it looks like he's like gotten that step back that he had while he was at Georgia and his first year with the Lions. Because it did feel like the way that the Lions were using him was like just a mismanagement of talent the past couple of years, and that's why they got rid of him and drafted Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think, honestly, the trade has worked out well for both teams, as the Lions are the 2 seed in the NFC right now and playing the most important and impactful Thanksgiving Day game of recent memory.
Yeah. I'm trying to like. There's no like. We've rarely, it feels like, get like great Thanksgiving Day games. You know, I'm trying to remember like before this year, like what are other big ones? Like you get 49ers Seahawks tomorrow, and that's really up there. But I mean, it's like Cowboys Commanders and Lions Green Bay. It's okay. Seahawks 49ers though is also going to be Geno Smith questionable. You're not gonna have Kenneth Walker, so that's like that's a bummer, in my view. But it feels like Thanksgiving Day. I feel like I don't remember. Like honestly, there's not a single game that comes to mind, like the Thanksgiving Day game for me. I don't know. I think it's always been a short week, and short week games are usually not great. Like it is usually kind of a lower quality game, and it just feels like, the Lions always host a game. The Lions have been bad for most of my life. Like it's really never been a competitive affair.
Last year was pretty close for the Lions. I forgot they played the Bills.
Yeah, they almost beat the Bills, right?
Yeah, it was 28-25. Bills ended up winning. Looking at...
Did we have the Vikings game last year? That was a good one. Vikings-Patriots?
Yes,
that was
the night
was a good game. I remember that one. That was good. But I mean, like, that wasn't, like, iconic either,
It's like... You kind of have to be reminded of it a little bit.
Who did the Cowboys play last year? I don't even remember.
The Cowboys last year played the Giants and won 28-20.
I honestly
don't even remember.
I have no memory of that game whatsoever.
Trying to look at like pretty quality matchups over the past couple of years. It's always tough, too, with Thanksgiving because, like you said, it is that short week, and you kind of already know 2 of the teams that are always going to play. I mean, we had a fun one in 2014 when the Eagles beat the Cowboys 33-10.
Right.
But, I mean...
Just feels like one that rarely... They're throwing Black Friday at us now, too.
Yeah,
which is,
first ever.
It sucks because the Jets are like in so many primetime games because they obviously expected Aaron Rodgers to not tear his Achilles 4 plays into the season. That would have been a fun game if Rodgers had been playing this close because the Jets obviously have a better team. But I like the idea of throwing something on Black Friday.
Yeah, it's a 3 p.m. kickoff. which
Right.
I was like, okay, that works. So we'll see how that plays out as well. Obviously, we're not huge college football guys. I talked about this with DJ because obviously he's a huge Michigan fan. When I was watching the Monday night game and just saw the ticker rolling across, Michigan-Ohio State this weekend feels like one of the bigger college football games of like the last decade at least. Like what's at stake, all the stuff surrounding both teams this year with Connor Stallions, and Ryan Day, and all that.
I heard it's the greatest crime committed on the planet. Actually, what they did. It's disgusting. I still don't get the big deal. If I'm being totally honest, I still think it's a lot of for a lot of nothing.
A lot of hoopla.
It just doesn't feel that big of a deal to me. I don't know.
Like
it reminds me of like steroids in cycling, where like someone gets popped and everyone makes a big deal out of it, and like none of the cyclists ever make a big deal out of it because they're like we're on the juice too. You know, like it's just I don't know. Maybe theirs was like so advanced.
Who knows?
But that does, it is.
It feels like it's like a huge game, and like being like very, very casual college football observer that I am and that you are for the most part. This game feels like it should be in prime time, like 7:30, 8 o'clock under the lights.
So the reason I think they don't do that, like I don't ever remember Ohio State Michigan game ever being a night game.
It's a noon kickoff.
I think it's because there is like such a. I think it's probably the biggest rivalry like in college sports, I would say, and I think for like even if you're just talking like North American sports rivalries, I think it's up there. Like there's a clock countdown timer that to the game every year for in both teams like locker rooms. Yeah, like it is a big thing. Like we were in Columbus and they still had the stickers over whenever they play Michigan. They put the stickers over all the street signs in the city. They put a sticker over any M. That's like
crazy.
It's stupid, but it's also like I think it just kind of lets you in on like that. It's a really big rivalry. I think it's because I think like security wise and like
it's a
policing.
TV deal thing too.
Oh, yeah.
With the Big Ten, they have like Fox has the big noon kickoff is a Big Ten thing. So DJ was telling me that like there's like 3 primetime slots for college football, and it's noon, 3:30, and then the night game, and then if you want to dive into whoever's playing, RIP the Pac-12 after this year, that game as well. But I'd much rather have Ohio State Michigan on at 7 o'clock, 7:30 than a 15-point favorite Alabama playing against Auburn in the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, that's true. But I think Alabama-Auburn is at 3:30. The 7:30 games are Clemson, South Carolina, Georgia Tech. You got Florida State and Florida at 7. So there's good stuff there. It's fun. I mean, it's, number 2, number 3 seed. So I guess what I'm confused about is how the NFL was able to get a Friday game. Because I thought that like the whole thing was that they couldn't broadcast NFL games. Like it's like an antitrust thing that they're not allowed to broadcast NFL games on the same day or within like a certain time frame of college games. I honestly assumed that there were no. I don't know why, but
I think part of it is high school football is pretty much over outside of state championship games. So that's part of it. And I think that's also why it's a 3 o'clock kickoff rather than a night game on Friday. Because I think it does put them in that time frame stipulation to where like the game will be over by whatever 6:30.
But there's games all day on Friday in college. Like TCU Oklahoma's kicking off at noon, Iowa Nebraska at noon, University of I'm assuming this is like Tennessee and Tulane at 3:30, Missouri Arkansas at 4. Like I just always thought that was the rules that you couldn't. That's why as soon as college season's over, they start having Saturday games because they can. Finally.
See. Yahoo put an article about it.
Give us the news, Yahoo. Tell us how this is working.
So as part of an 11-year, $11 billion deal for streaming rights to Thursday night NFL games, Amazon asked for a game on the day after Thanksgiving. Black Friday traditionally jumpstarts the holiday shopping season, blah, blah, blah. Let's see. So per Forbes, Amazon will offer special deals throughout Friday's game, including product drops from big name brands.
Of course.
There will be on-screen sales throughout the live stream with new e-commerce deals during all 4 quarters, as well as pregame and postgame shows.
Sideline reporting, they're going to be talking about the best
here's
deals.
Here's a QR code. Let's see. By NFL rules, games on cable channels or streaming services must be carried in the home markets by an over-the-station. CBS 4 won local bidding rights to air the game in Miami-Fort Lauderdale's market and the Florida Keys. No Palm Beach free TV station is permitted to air the game. The NFL traditionally doesn't play Friday games, in part because of Congress's Sports Broadcasting Act, a 1966 amendment, withdrew antitrust immunity for any pro football telecast if a high school or college game is played within 75 miles of the station airing the NFL game. That essentially eliminated Friday NFL games in September and October. The NFL has only played 8 Friday games since 1978, mostly because of the NFL's restrictions during Christmas. In 2005, a Dolphins-Chiefs game scheduled for Sunday, October 23rd, was moved to 7 p.m. on a Friday due to a hurricane. The NFL announced
I didn't realize there was a
carry games on Christmas every year unless Christmas is on a Tuesday and Wednesday.
I didn't realize there was a distance problem within 75 miles.
Telecast.
Okay.
And game being played. So I guess because Florida State is on Saturday, I think, and I don't know if University of Miami has a game or not, but I would assume they're playing on Saturday as well.
Or they might be on the road, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even... Doesn't even look... I mean, Miami may not be in the top 25. That might be why, but... Miami plays Friday at noon.
Are they home?
No, it's at Boston College. So
that's probably why.
Yeah, there we go. All right,
there's
cool.
the loophole.
I did not know it was a 75-mile rate. I always thought it was a time frame. I always thought there was like a time.
I thought so too.
That they couldn't play, like within a certain window. But cool. There's my answer.
You learn something new.
As it turns out, billionaires can get what they want.
And that's why you should subscribe to this show, because you learn something new every day. But yeah, we got Thanksgiving games that I think, the night game will be probably the best one overall, and we'll see if Drew Lock or Geno play. Is it confirmed Geno's out? Or?
He's questionable going into the game. It's like an elbow injury.
Yeah.
Either way, not ideal. I want to say I saw a great tweet that really spoke to me because I love this kind of stuff. This is from Jay Kuda or Kuda.
Oh, I love Jay.
I have bad news for the Lions. Frown emoji. Emoticon, I should say. Since the AFL-NFL merger, they are 0-12 on Thanksgiving when the moon is in a waxing gibbous phase. Tomorrow is a waxing gibbous phase.
Wow.
So, sorry. But you know what? I think you can get good numbers on the Packers winning. So there you go. The moon does not lie.
Moon don't lie.
Probably doesn't help that the Lions have been terrible for pretty much that entire
time
frame. So naturally, they're probably going to do bad. But I think you got to at least throw like $5 on the Packers and let the moon do its job.
Yeah, moon don't lie. Put that on a shirt. I know we like talking about fun history things on this podcast as well. And this week, across the state in Pittsburgh, Matt Canada has finally been fired. And Adam Schefter put this tweet out, and it is pretty wild. When the Steelers fired offensive coordinator Matt Canada, it marked the first time they have made an in-season coaching change since 1941.
Fired himself.
Burt Bell was the one who fired himself back in 1941 as a head coach coordinator. And I saw this tweet, and I knew it would bring a chuckle to your face. This comes from at Unbiased Dumbass on Twitter. Great handle. Hitler was at the height of his power the last time this happened.
Yeah. Dude said, sorry, man, there's bigger shit going on. We got bigger concerns. I gotta grow my victory garden. I gotta
go storm Normandy real quick.
I have a lot of affairs to attend to.
With Ted Williams and Joe DiMaggio.
Yeah, I think it was the day after Pearl Harbor. I was like, listen, this is just
It's too much.
It's a little too much for me. I think I'm over it. But yeah,
some of the Steelers' historical facts are.
How many
crazy.
coaches have they? They've had 7 coaches.
4. It was.
It's even worse. That's even more insane.
Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher. Actually, it might be 3. It was Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher, and Mike Tomlin.
Yeah. That's
since whenever Chuck Noll
the
first
Steelers
hired.
and Eagles merged during the war, right?
Yeah,
they were,
1933 was the Eagles' first year, so I want to say.
I think
it was
during the war, a lot of teams merged because they didn't have enough players, and I'm pretty sure the Steelers and Eagles.
Yeah, that's why they wore the blue and yellow jerseys that they wore back in 2007. That was the Steagles. Yeah, list of Pittsburgh Steelers head coaches. Let's see. They've had 16 head coaches in their team's history.
But it's 3 or 4 or whatever in the last 60 years or something,
the
right?
Steelers were also founded in 1933, and they went through 5 coaches in a 7-year span, to which then 1941 through 1968 they had 7 coaches, and then from 1969 to present they have had 3 head coaches.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's insane.
It's a crazy run to be on.
But yeah, Eagles-Bills will be fun, and we'll see how that all plays out. But we'll shift gears from the gridiron to the baseball diamond, because since we last recorded together, Matt, Dave Dombrowski came through. Put his Tomahawk shades on. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the app. Their Black Friday sale is going on right now. It's buy one, get 2 free. If it's free, it's for me, and I'm sure it's for you as well. Download the Tomahawk Shades app or go to tomahawkshades.com. Check out their Black Friday Cyber Monday sale. Support our advertisers. And, of course, anytime you can use promo code USP at checkout for 25% off your order. That's tomahawkshades.com or the Tomahawk Shades app. Use code USP for 25% off your order. Matt, Aaron Nola is staying home and looks to be a lifetime Philadelphia Philly as he signs a 7-year, $172 million contract, shuts down the Braves in free agency just like he does on the mound in the postseason, as they offered him, allegedly, more money. The Dodgers offered him more money. But Aaron Nola said, no, I'm a Philly guy through and through. This is home. I want to raise my soon-to-be child here. And Aaron Nola is staying home.
Yeah, it's I'm glad he's staying. I think the alternatives, I think they're still going for Yamamoto, right? But no guarantees there. And Blake Snell comes with his own concerns.
Mm-hmm.
I would have taken Snell and Nola, which I guess is still potentially on the table.
I've seen so many people talking about the guy the Brewers released, who's going to need a year to recover from Tommy John.
Right.
And signing him to a 2-year deal, and you're in that window. Why not have him for 2025 when Painter is also ready to go? And then you have him, you have Nola, Wheeler, who they're already talking about a Wheeler extension as well, rightfully so. You and I were both very pro re-sign Nola, though.
Yeah, I think he's I actually think it's a pretty good contract too. 7 years is, maybe the last 2 of that are going to be a little rough, but for the next 2-3 seasons, you expect he's to be pitching at a high level, and I think you would have had a hard time replacing what he brings you on the open market without paying probably more than you paid for him as it is. And I think you keep him and Wheeler together, or a great 1-2. For me, I'm really happy to have him back. I think it's a good sign. I think it would have been a big loss to not have him back next year, and and it still allows you. You could still hypothetically go take a big swing in the free agent market, and they're still trying to do that. Bryce getting involved in the
release the sizzle reel.
Yeah, what do you call it? The tapping, the What did the Sixers get in trouble for? What do they call it? What's the official word for when you
tampering?
Yeah, tampering with Yana. I guess it's legal tampering,
yeah.
But they're really making a pitch for him. So
I mean, I would love that. I saw a post today that he wants to sign with a team that has other Japanese players on it.
Well, we could listen.
I saw Ichiro throwing 86 in Japan, and I'm sure our bullpen could use a long man back
Why
there,
not
or a
bring
mop-up
Ichiro?
guy.
Like, bring him as like a coach or something. Just
Yeah.
let him hang out.
I would 100% do that.
If you had to pay Ichiro like $2 million a year to just hang out in your clubhouse
Yes.
as like some sort of BS coach nonsense, they get Yamamoto and Otani. By the way, listen, I will pay. I'll do it. If we got Otani, I would lose my mind.
Oh, 100%.
Where's the feeling on Otani going? I know Texas was rumored for a while.
A lot of people throwing the teams I've seen get thrown around the most are Dodgers, Cubs, and Red Sox.
Man, don't love any of those. Dodgers I would hate the most.
Yes.
I don't see Red Sox happening. And Cubs just feels kind of it feels underwhelming. I wouldn't feel like
And I also saw today the Cubs allegedly trying to trade for Bo Bichette,
yeah.
which I don't know if that is just more like trying to entice Otani to come because there's another high caliber superstar player on the team. I do like Otani's negotiating tactics. I don't know if you saw that too. He said he's going to be meeting with teams, but if it leaks that that team met with him, it's going to hurt their chances of signing him.
Good. Yeah, you know what? Makes sense. It's like the Game of Thrones thing. You tell everyone something a different story, and then when you find out, when you hear that story repeated, you know who leaked the story.
And I think if you're a team that you know you're not going to get Otani, you just say, hey, Otani met with us. Narrow it down for the rest of us who are in the mix.
I don't think there's a single team besides the homeless Athletics that would not sign Otani.
I'd say the Athletics. I don't know if the Braves would, because they would probably make Shohei Otani donate 50% of his contract to the Atlanta Braves Foundation,
Right.
which feels like a Ponzi scheme through and through. And I don't think the New York Mets would sign Otani because
I think they would.
they would.
They would.
But
That's a very Mets signing.
Uncle Stevie talking about, hey, we're
Fiscal
taking the year
responsibility.
off.
Fiscal responsibility. Yeah, we're gonna take the year off.
He's
And-
got to.
Well, I mean, he could just give Otani the year off too. Be like, listen,
Yeah.
come here and just rehab it and be back to pitch and hit next year. So we'll see.
I also don't know how I feel about all these Mike Trout hypotheticals floating around.
It feels
constantly.
very
feels very forced.
forced and fabricated, and it's not gonna happen.
No.
He's just gonna stay in LA. Sorry to tell you, he's lived there for like 10 years now.
Yeah.
Like, that's just,
He loves it out there. Like,
who wouldn't?
it's close to the Nike facility where
Like-
he has a major sponsorship deal with, and
No shot.
there's
Just
no chance.
No chance. And yeah.
Very happy Nola's back though. And they said signing him at the number they got him at doesn't take them out of any other big free agent moves that they want to make. Could also open up the trade market potentially too to go get another, front of the line starter and really bolster this rotation through the roof. So who knows? But we are on hot stove watch, and we'll see how things continue to play out for the Fightins. We'll move to the now eliminated bright red NBA court as the Sixers lose in overtime to the Cleveland Cavaliers and are eliminated from the NBA in-season tournament in ultimate Sixers fashion, Matt.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, we were so worried about getting invested in the regular season. Like, well, this team will hurt us in the playoffs. It's like, well, what if we hurt you early in the year in what is kind of like the playoffs? What if we did that instead? Yeah, it sucks. People are like, I didn't care about this stupid. I cared.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted the team. I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm putting this out there. As soon as these teams get to Vegas, it's gonna be like a whole thing.
Yep.
It's gonna be a whole thing, and people are gonna be really into it. People are already getting into it because like last time was the first time games really had like it really felt like there were stakes. And the team leading up to you, like Nick Nurse was talking about point differential. Like that's why Embiid took that late shot
So
against
on
the
brand for
Pistons.
us.
Was like because that matters in your position in the group. So, I'm gonna be pissed when like a bunch of teams are playing in Vegas. Everyone's paying attention to it and talking about it and how fun it is and exciting and there's a playoff like atmosphere and whatever. And it would have been cool to win the first one. I wanted them to do that. I think it would have been really cool to say that your team won the first of this, because this tournament's not going away ever.
Nope.
It's only going to get, more involved. I would say the only thing that I think has to change is everyone has kind of played a different amount, like on different days. I think if you want this to be a little more competitive, I think you just do it straight through. I don't think you do this thing where, like, I understand they want to kind of have it staggered, like Thursdays, Tuesday, but I think, like, just have like a week and a half where every game is a group stage game. I don't know. I don't know how feasible that is with like all the scheduling, but because I hate switching back from just a regular season game to a group game
Is Champions League with soccer, is that on designated days?
Yes.
Okay.
Champions League is always Tuesdays, Wednesdays.
Okay.
And and you also know, like, it's very like it's very obvious.
Yes.
Like, it's very obvious. It's similar. It's honestly similar to what the NBA does too, where like there's a whole different ball and the broadcast screen looks different. Outside of that, nothing.
Yeah.
Well, like the uniforms look slightly different. There's like a different patch you wear for
which for
like
the
Champions League
in-season tournament they were doing the City Connect jerseys.
Right. So like they're definitely going. But I just think like switching from this like back and forth. The problem is like with the group play, it feels like, I don't know, it just feels a little uneven, and I think I would rather just see him play the group through, or make sure that everyone is kind of on a similar.
Yeah, because it was Tuesdays and Fridays, but some teams weren't playing on a Friday.
Right, like that's the thing, and that's where I think it gets challenging too. Like just with the NBA schedule, like there's so many games to work out that it's probably not easy to do, but I think that's
something that is easier to fix though.
Yeah,
with now that it's established as being something that's going to be here. It's going to be easier to kind of fit those into a schedule, I think, more so than it was going into this year, where the in-season tournament was kind of like sprung on everybody in the off-season. It's like, what is this?
I thought it was fun.
It was.
Like, I'm kind of bummed we're not in it. I would have really liked to watch them.
The parade down Broad Street at the middle of January or during the All-Star break would have been electric.
We would have given them one, that's for sure. At least we could have made. It would have been funny if we made a tournament conference, in-season tournament conference final before an actual conference final. But yeah, I'm bummed we're not in it, and I'm just gonna be jealous of all the teams that go to Vegas. And I'm just telling you right now, it's gonna be such a thing.
Like fucking March Madness.
Honestly, yeah, like it's the Maui Invitational's on right now. It's gonna be like the same kind of thing, but way more views, way more eyes on it, and I really think like you're gonna get good atmospheres there. I think I was looking around at other games too, and like just like reading about what other fans were saying about their games. Like people like got invested in this, like, and every team that's out of it is like, I didn't care about this shit. Whereas the team that wins is like, this is awesome. Like, and whatever. I just
wait until like next year, the year after, when the fucking semifinal and the final are in the fucking Vegas Sphere.
Right.
Like,
it's fun.
It's fun. It's a new wrinkle, and hate it or love it, you got invested in the NBA in November.
Right. And that was
which
the point.
was the goal.
It's like that bowler said, the one that was, who do you think you are? I am.
Yep.
When he retired, he was like, love me or hate me, you watched.
Exactly.
Like, that's the way it is.
So we'll see how the Sixers get back at it. They're playing the Timberwolves tonight. No Joel Embiid. I think the thing I'm most excited about from this matchup is I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen the Timberwolves Brazil account?
Yes, the Vor.
I can't wait to see what they conjure up for this
account.
game.
Yeah, it's gonna be no Embiid. So
that account is one of the most absurd things to ever hit the internet.
I love it. Brazil is a wild place, truly. There's no frontiers left on the planet really outside of like the oceans, but Brazil is like a place I think that we could study a little bit more.
Yes,
it is a
tap into the minds of Brazil Timberwolves and see what's going on up there, because they have had some very wild tweets to kick off this season, and we'll see what we get from tonight's matchup. And also in action out on Long Island, the Flyers and the Islanders, Matt. And don't look now. Flyers are second in the Metropolitan Division.
You're right. I'm not going to look now.
Most insane run of a team that is not supposed to be doing this, but somehow are finding a way to beat down.
Typical. It's just so typical of them.
On good teams. They're currently on a 5-game win streak where they have beaten the Ducks 6-3, the Kings 4-2, the Hurricanes 3-1, the Golden Knights in overtime on Saturday 4-3, and then the Blue Jackets on Sunday 5-2.
I hate them.
It's insane.
It's so typical of them. This is such a Flyers thing to do.
They are 4 points back of first place in the division.
They are the kid in gym class trying way too hard.
Gym class heroes.
You do not have to do this. You do not have to do this.
I saw an interesting take from Ryan Whitney from Spittin' Chicklets, former NHL player. He said, you'll know who's going to make the playoffs in the NHL by the time Thanksgiving rolls around.
Yeah.
He said, typically the standings, the way they are on Thanksgiving, you'll have one or two teams that work their way in as the season progresses. But for the most part, the way the standings are by Thanksgiving, those are the teams that typically make it to the playoffs, which is a fascinating thing to kind of take in, especially because that's only a month and a half into the hockey season to kind of know already what teams are established as playoff teams and which teams aren't.
I think it's kind of similar with the NBA though, right? Like typically Christmas is when it's like a little bit longer, but even typically Christmas is when it feels like season kind of takes a turn into like a more competitive era, because hockey usually starts like a week and a half, 2 weeks before.
Yeah.
So similar kind of time frame.
So we'll see if things hold up, because Thanksgiving obviously tomorrow, and be pretty wild if the Flyers were the 2 seed in the playoffs. Don't see it holding up, but who knows? It is Thanksgiving though, which means the big one on deck in our backyard, the 152nd meeting between our alma mater, Vineland High School, and Millville, our neighboring town. You can catch myself on the broadcast tomorrow from Wheaton Field, the newly renovated Wheaton Field. Going to be a fun one. Best of luck to the Fighting Clan and Coach Guzman. And Thanksgiving is here, Matt, one of our favorite just feast days. We love food on this show. It's always a fun time when Thanksgiving rolls around.
I'm in charge of desserts. I made pumpkin pie, which I came to the realization today might be my favorite dessert, honestly. I really I love pumpkin pie. I've always loved pumpkin pie. As I've gotten older, I'm like, I really think pumpkin pie might be my favorite. It's certainly my top 3. But I also made turnovers, which was an experience. So, big fan of Thanksgiving. Any holiday that is centered around eating a bunch of food and having sports on in the background is kind of my deal.
That's a vibe. I think we're gonna put out one of those tier lists and have a tier of all Thanksgiving food. We'll have that out for everybody for tomorrow to kind of have the takes flowing at the old dinner table and what's good and what's not at the Thanksgiving table. And we finally have Union soccer again this weekend too, as the playoffs continue.
It's been 84 years.
It's been forever since they have played. I've been telling my dad about how the playoffs have worked. He's like, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. He's like,
I actually think so. I think we should have, anytime we change anything with sports, this shouldn't be the only factor, but there should be a council of dads. Dads are resistant to change, so you have to balance it out in some way. There's got to be some check, because they're never going to want anything to change for the most part. But you should have pick a dad from each state and have them convene, and it's like, hey, we want an NBA in-season tournament, and they're like, that's stupid, but you get their opinion on record at least.
The Council of Dads, copyright trademark 2023 Underground Sports Philadelphia. I feel like that's got to be a sector of how we do our podcast Hall of Fame Day. We need to every year just nominate a dad to the Council of Dads.
Yeah.
I think head of the committee,
DeAndre Swift's dad.
100%, along with his running mate, the Need 6 here dad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let us know your favorite dad in the YouTube comment section. Everybody have a happy and healthy and safe Thanksgiving weekend. Don't do anything too crazy. Don't overspend on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Don't do anything stupid if you're going out in public to go shopping. And obviously, listen to the podcast while you're out, while you're with your friends and family. Throw it on the TV. Would love to get those. I saw our numbers on YouTube. 5% of our viewers on YouTube watch on their TVs. Maybe you get a new TV on Black Friday, throw the podcast on. Who knows? But make sure you guys are following us at Underground PHI, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook.com/Underground Sports PHI, Twitch.tv/Underground Sports PHI. You can follow Matt on Twitter at Matt Castorina. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to the podcast feed on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel as well, youtube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia. We're at 637 subscribers, on that road to 700 and on that road to 1,000, obviously, where we can continue to do more awesome stuff on YouTube once we hit that 1K mark, and then it's on that road to that silver play button plaque. So go subscribe, have your family subscribe, and tell them that we're the best damn podcast out there. And, of course, get your merch, phiapparel.co. You'll see our Black Friday and Cyber Monday deals all across our socials from our awesome merch partners. But at any time, you can use code Underground for 10% off your orders. And, of course, we are presented by the City of Vineland. And whether you're a company looking to expand, relocate, or you're a new business startup, selecting the right location is critical to your success. Vineland, New Jersey offers both an affordable business location and an excellent quality of life. The city's economic development department is a one-stop source for moving your project through the development and approval process, and their goal is to make this process as smooth as possible and to provide the fastest turnaround times in the region. If you're considering potential locations for your operation, contact the Vineland Economic Development Team at 856-794-4100. That's 856-794-4100. Vineland, New Jersey, where it's always growing season. Big thank you to Security 21 Security Systems and Paul J. Gillespie Incorporated for their continued support of this podcast. And as we finish up recording here too, Matt, on this day, 22 years ago, we had the best Thanksgiving halftime show. Creed and Scott Stapp.
Can you take me higher? Oh, just amazing.
It's the best. Creed going on tour this summer.
Good.
Back
Keep
at
him
it.
around. Keep him around. America's better when Creed is in it.
So,
I love that there's the guy on TikTok that gets stitched to everything now.
Yes, we actually just posted one
I
with the
saw
brotherly
that.
shove, and
Which is just spectacular.
it makes it even funnier because I found out by just scrolling that guy's TikTok, he's a Cowboys fan.
Well,
You can't win them all.
You can't be perfect in all ways. So
Shout out to Mesa Windu is his
great name.
handle there. He's a big Star Wars guy. But this has been episode 588 of Underground Sports Philadelphia. Have a safe, happy, and bountiful Thanksgiving, everybody, and we will see you on the next one. We are signing off.